These missions take you deep into the heart of Anthem.
The Storm Javelin first arrived in Fort Tarsis as a rumor. Developed by the Dominion in their northern home of Stralheim, the Storm uses a powerful technology known as seals to boost the latent kinesis powers of its pilot. The result is a javelin that can float effortlessly above the ground and unleash the raw energy of the Anthem. Only through painstaking arcanist research has anyone outside the Dominion had a chance to wield the Storm's awesome potential. And while the Storm can channel unbelievable amounts of elemental force, it has little in the way of defensive capabilities and requires an expert pilot to stay above the fight and dish out damage from a safe distance. Ladies and gentlemen, that is BioWare's breakdown of the Storm Javelin, and we are here today with another episode of Everything We Know, this time of course talking about everything we know about the Storm Javelin. The Storm is going to be your glass cannon, your elemental focused javelin in the Anthem arsenal. This is for the player who wants to stay mobile, stay in the air, support their team, but also recognize that all of the power, all of the potential they have comes at a cost. That cost is survivability. In fact, the hover ability for the Storm isn't just a means in which the player gets a clear vantage point over the firefight that they might be involved in at any point in time. It is also the only way in which they can maintain any sort of a shield to increase the amount of damage they can take. The moment the Storm goes boots on the ground, it loses that shield and now becomes extra squishy. I simply love the design direction with the Storm. Obviously, from a aesthetics perspective, it looks incredible. Wielding raw energy from the Anthem, which is something that we don't know that much about, all sounds really cool. Not to mention the lore of this javelin. I mean, it's Dominion technology, essentially. The arcanist at Fort Tarsis had to do all this crazy research just to learn how to utilize this thing. This goes back to just how dedicated BioWare is in building out the javelins as these sort of heirlooms, right? Handed down generation after generation with incredible knowledge needed to wield them, to utilize them most effectively, and I imagine to work on them, repair them, etc., etc. The Storm so far when it comes to lore is at the peak of that for me, and I really like where they're going with this. But I also love the gameplay implementation here. You know, this is a mobile in-air focused javelin. This is a javelin that's really going to encourage you to use flight and to stay off the ground. I mean, typically in a PvE experience like this, you know, if you're in a raid or like a Nightfall in Destiny, for example, flying through the air might sometimes be the answer. But primarily, you want to stay boots on the ground, keep your momentum up so you can get away from enemies. You know, unless you're jumping over someone or clearing a gap, staying on the ground and running as fast as you can is the best way to get away from an incoming attack. In the case of the Storm, that's the last thing you want to do is be boots on the ground. If you're low on HP and you touch down and try and run behind cover, you take one bullet, there's a chance you're dead. But if you're hovering and maintaining that shield and using flight, that's how you're going to survive. You also have a teleportation ability with the Storm that allows you to move through space instantaneously. It's like a blink, going from one position to the next to evade incoming damage, to flank enemies, to get yourself behind cover maybe, to get yourself out of a firefight, to re-engage into a firefight. Like, this is going to be a really fun javelin to play, and all the more reason to be excited that you can just play with whatever javelin you want at any point in time once you've acquired them all through the story. Really stoked on this, and I did want to speculate a little bit based on some stuff we saw in the most recent story trailer. So we've seen the Storm sort of lightning attack, right? Calls in this lightning strike that electrifies enemies and sets them up for a combo attack. We see the Colossus use its mortar at one point. They get some great combo damage there. We see it again in the recent trailer, but we also see another attack where the Storm is sort of channeling electrical energy from the Anthem in this case, from its right arm into this sort of Colossus, this behemoth that the team is fighting inside of one of these interior spaces. We only get to see it for a second, but it appears that this is a channeling attack, one that isn't just briefly casted. It didn't look like throwing a sort of electric Nova bomb or something like that, if you will. This looked like energy was being channeled out of the Storm's hand into the target, causing electrical damage, again, potentially setting up for combo damage there. I really want to see where we're going with that. It looks fantastic. Now, we also know that certain javelins are going to be able to wield certain weapons, but we haven't really gotten any details beyond the fact that the Colossus can't use pistols, and it's also the only javelin that can use the heavy machine guns. We see in that same clip with the sort of channeling attack what appears to be a small rifle, maybe even a submachine gun with a scope on it. I'm curious to see if submachine guns are something that are also tied directly in to the Storm Javelin itself. I feel like I've heard something about this in the past, but when I was doing research for this video, I struggled to dig up any clear-cut answers on that. Nonetheless, it's a new weapon. I think it's the first time we've seen it from the player perspective of the Storm, and you know, just another little thing I wanted to point out. All in all, glass cannon, you know, high damage, great potential to set your team up for combo attacks here. You're going to be able to, you know, sort of survey the battlefield, have that great vantage point with that hover ability, but you're squishy. You're a squishy mofo, and it's going to take a lot to survive with this class. I'm really curious to see how the different Javelins play out on the harder difficulty content. We know that we have difficulty options in this game, which I love, right? You're going to be able to go into a mission, play on hard, play on normal. You'll have the more challenging content. I want to know where the weaknesses of these Javelins really start to shine, where it really does become an issue to be playing the Storm, and it's like, wow, this wasn't a big deal on normal, but now here I am in this stronghold on hard difficulty, and I'm getting my ass handed to me. I really got to use teleportation. I really got to use hover. I got to manage my shields. There's some really exciting potential here with each of the ways in which these Javelins are set up. The Storm, though, stands out to me as one that I really want to see in action. You know, from a survivability, from a challenge perspective. So feel free to leave your thoughts on the Storm down in the comment section below. In the next episode, we'll be taking a look at the Colossus, the thick boy. I love that Mark Dara calls the Colossus the thick boy. I'm not usually a meme guy, but that's a good meme right there. And then, of course, we'll be moving on to the Ranger. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for the incredible support on the channel. I think we're pushing up towards like 60K at this point. It's been outstanding. I've been really enjoying making YouTube content, going on 6 years now, you know, and still enjoying what I'm doing is a great feeling. And much like many of you, I just can't wait to get my hands on Anthem. I'll see you in the next one.